So yeah, today we're looking at this lovely couple's chart. So let me just bring up their details. And so what we're going to do is have a look at where they were in life when they met each other. And I'll show you how the astrology is showing the importance of them meeting and so on and so forth. So when he met her, and this is, I made a mistake. They've been together 8 years. And I said they're married 6. They're actually married 7 years today. So I wasn't using very good maths earlier, but all of these charts are valid. So when he met her, and bearing in mind that I've spoken a lot about people's charts and how love shows up, the first thing that I notice is the moon on the day that he met her was in a conjunction with his Chiron. Now, Chiron reminds us of our vulnerabilities, and it also reminds us of what we're sensitive about. It's a very, very potent point in our chart. So having the moon, which is all about our energies and our emotions and our psyche, that's a really good start. Then we've got Venus in a conjunction to the vertex in his chart, an exact one. Now, for those of you that don't know, the vertex is almost like the word of God or the word of the universe. And so in his own chart, he's got Venus is the thing that the universe wants him to work on. So everything to do with love and connection and partnership and family and abundance and just feeling like you're having a good life. And so when he was meeting his future wife, Venus was right there, right over his Venus and the kind of the word of the universe. So he's actually having a Venus return, like Venus is always moving. And at the time he met his wife, Venus was right back where it started. He's also got Mars. Where's Mars? In a conjunction with Venus, the vertex, and the sun. So the Mars is conjunct these two and also the sun. Now, Mars and Venus are counted as sexual planets, like boy meets girl. We've got like the yielding, and we've got the thrusting, and we've got the attraction. So that's all good. Then Jupiter, which is also about our expansion, the expansion of our feelings. Jupiter is also a feeling of, it's also a planet to do with well-being. That's in a conjunction with his sun. So that's all good. Then the North Node, which is about our karmic journey. So the North Node, where is it? Just here is right on his Mercury. So that's also very, very strong because it's indicating almost like there's this new journey of conversation. There's this new way of talking. There's this new kind of intellectual connection. And yeah, he definitely has an intellectual connection with his wife. And then on the day that they met, Saturn, which is all, and if you look at the last 3 episodes, Saturn is, I think, the one that brings the commitment. You know, if you think of Saturn, it's a planet with rings, with constructs, with stability. It's a thing that creates regulations, rules, expectations, guidelines, and things. And so Saturn, in the last 2 sets of couples, and one of those was me and my husband, Saturn has shown up. So on the day that he met his wife, Saturn was just moving over this very potent part in his chart. And it's interesting actually because this connection between Jupiter and Uranus is coming up again, and it comes around every 12 years or so. And it's coming around next. It's already right now, Jupiter and okay, you need to speak to Daddy. That's a great thing about delivering at home, because you get 4-year-olds popping in and saying, "I've just done a poo in the potty. Can you come and wipe my bum?" Oh dear, family life, eh? So yeah, so Saturn was in this very sensitive part over a really expansive point in his chart, to do with him standing tall in the world and feeling exalted, feeling positive, feeling like great change could come. So this is really big. Now, no, I'm not wiping your bum, darling. Go to Daddy. So when she met him, there was also some big things going on. So, for instance, Venus, the planet of love and flow and connection, was in a conjunction with Mars, his Mars. So it's like boy meets girl. So that's really strong and sexual. Mars was also conjunct Mars. So he was going through his Venus return and she was going through her Mars return, which is interesting. And then what I really like about this, and what's really, really obvious, is that the Sun, Mercury, you can't see it because something's just gone over it, Juno, and the North Node were in a conjunction with her Pluto. Now, in the last 2 episodes, looking at different couples, Venus and Pluto were often in a connection. Juno is she's known as the goddess of marriage, and she's also known as Hera, according to whether you're Roman or Greek, but essentially she's the same goddess. So these connections between Juno and another planet are really, really strong. So this is a really, really kind of strong indication of a connection between the two. Now, another way of looking at their connection, so that's looking at when they both met each other and how life was showing up in their charts at the time. This is known as a composite chart, and the composite chart is a composition of her plus him, and it's looking at the melting pot between the two of them. If they were white chocolate and black chocolate and you're melting them up, you get this lovely chocolate between them. It's the melting pot between the two of them. So this Venus is representing it's representing the moon of her and the moon of him, and it's the midpoint. And so every point here, including the angles, is the midpoint between each of them. And the composite chart essentially represents the relationship, how it's showing up. And it's really, really strong, when you look at the composite chart. Every composite chart I've looked at really describes the relationship and how it shows up. And this is really gorgeous. I love it. So the ascendant's in the sign of Taurus. That's ruled by Venus. Then Venus is in a conjunction with the Sun. So it's like love plus personality and love plus ego. It's like the loving ego of their relationship. And it's in a conjunction with this part here, the IC, which is known as the part of the home. So it's like, what is known about this relationship is that home is where the heart is. It's like home sweet home. Really beautiful. And then they've got Ceres conjunct the ascendant. So Ceres is here. Ceres is the dwarf planet to do with motherhood and protection and parenting and nurturing. It's a real sort of like home bringer, and it's also bringing in more life and more flow. And so it's not surprising, because these two have had a child together and they've raised children together. So the relationship is about parenting the next generation and being nurturing, a place of love. So that really shows up. They've also got Chiron in the first house. Chiron's a wounded healer. The first house is about the identity of the relationship. At some level, anyone that knows them as a couple will know that they've suffered a fair bit in terms of ups and downs and difficulties, not between themselves necessarily, but with the people around them. It's brought in some pain. Now, it's not to say that they're victims, nothing of the sort, but it's to say that pain has come up. And actually, the more the pain has come up, it's brought them both out as highly experienced, highly resourceful individuals within a relationship. So as you're looking at this relationship chart, what I see is that these are people creating a home structure to nurture people and to love people, really bring love in. Even during the most painful times, they still stand for love, and they still stand for hope, and they still stand for support. So I think that's really strong. Then I really love this Mercury, Mars, trine Neptune. Where's that? Mercury and Mars, trine Neptune, and also trine Pluto. So this is really quite hopeful and also quite dynamic. Like Mercury and Mars together is, I think that they're able, like within the relationship, they're known as being able to stand up for themselves, to be able to articulate when things are going wrong, and to be able to put a finger on it, to be able to identify it. But they do it with compassion, and they're also doing it with a sense of possibility and transformation. So these guys aren't going to roll over when life like knocks them down. They're going to transform it and find a way to have really intelligent grown-up conversations about it. So I love that. They've got Saturn sextile Uranus, which is really useful. Like Uranus is about setting up goals and creating structure, and Uranus is very much about being free. So they're creating structures that are going to give them freedom and give them expression. And then this is really, really lovely. The moon is in a conjunction to the midheaven. So the vehicle of this relationship is there to allow their psyche to come out and to allow their dreams to manifest. And the descendant has the vertex there. You know, at some level, the relationship is about the relationship coming out. You know, the relationship isn't about helping others. It's not about this, that, and the other. It's about the relationship. It's everything is about making their relationship stronger. It's really good. So as their charts relate to each other, this is her chart. This is his chart. And in terms of astrology, you usually find that there are important planets over each other's planets or angles. So here are the things that really stick out for me, showing that they've got a strong union. And, you know, all unions, as strong as they are, they still have little upsets and ups and downs and things. But what they have here is a lot of resourcefulness. And this is where I went first. Love this. So we've got Venus, the vertex, and Mars in a conjunction, which is really, really lovely. So where's that? Venus and the vertex and Mars in a conjunction. That's showing his desire to express love, meeting her desire to connect in a sexual way. So it's really thrusty. You know, it's like they've got this thrusty, lusty kind of desire for each other, which is really strong. Then they've got Venus, Ceres, and the Sun in a conjunction to the descendant. So her Sun and her Venus, her desire to love people and care for people, is in a conjunction with his part of relationships. Really, you know, that's a real common sign where you see people come together, that somebody's Venus or Sun is on their descendant. You know, it really shows they're their type, you know. Then we've also got Ceres. So we've got Ceres conjunct this DC descendant, and then her descendant is conjunct his Ceres. So this is you know, the same theme coming up in each chart. Really, really strong. Chiron in a conjunction with Juno. You heard what I said about Juno. Juno is showing marriage, and Chiron the care that you take to look after each other. Pluto Saturn conjunction the IC. That's strong. So there's his Pluto and Saturn conjunct her part of the home. The home, you know, he is bringing transformation and structure to her daily life. And you would expect that with partners, wouldn't you? That you bring change to each other. And then finally, the thing that I really like is they've both got their moons in opposition. Now, oppositions, you know, can be challenging. And they can be difficult, but between the moons, or between Venus and the moon and Jupiter, like they're considered workable. They're not that difficult. Last couple of things I want to show then is just what happens on their wedding day, and then we'll bring in Mr. M, who's limbering up after a warm bath. So when he was marrying her, he was going through his Venus return. So Venus had come back. Juno was conjunct his Saturn and Pluto. So again, there's Juno and Saturn. If you look at the last two episodes, there was something like that going on. Ceres was conjunct his Juno, showing that they are connecting in care. You know, they are committing to a marriage to care for each other. Pluto on his ascendant is a big one. Like, that's a huge identity shift. Then Mars was conjunct his Jupiter and Uranus. Where's that? Yep, that's another big shift. And Saturn, again, this control aspect. Saturn is there to, where is it? Saturn is conjunct her Uranus. Sorry, Saturn is conjunct his Uranus, showing that like life is coming in to control his wayward nature, to control his freedom, or to work together with it. And then Mercury conjunct Sun and Sun conjunct Mars, less important, but still showing a change. And then finally, on her wedding day, obviously they got married on the same day. This is really lovely. The Sun's crossing her ascendant, showing the start of a new identity. Her Venus is in a conjunction with Mars, as boy meets girl. The North Node, Moon, and Jupiter is conjunct her Juno. So her Juno is here. And the energy of the Moon and Jupiter, first of all, in their marriage chart is very strong and optimistic. And the North Node is there. It's connecting with everything to do with marriage in her chart. And then Juno is also conjunct her Uranus and North Node, showing that marriage is coming in to tame her wilder sides and her need to achieve certain things in life. Then she's also got a Saturn conjunction, showing that she's ready to give up something and also commit to romance. And then last of all, she's got Uranus and Ceres either side of her midheaven, showing that even though she's making these commitments, there is this promise of freedom and nurturing in her future. So I think that's really quite sweet, how they both come together to express their love in that way. So I love that so much. And I just want to wish them a happy anniversary. So it's their 7th anniversary today.